Oh, man, freaked out.
You're listening to the Brenton On Tour Podcast.
That's right.
He travels the world running concerts and searches for the best coffee, people, and amazing stories so you don't have to.
Pay attention, you're going to learn something for a change.
This is a show about all of those things and much, much more.
You're blowing my mind right now. I hope someone's recording this.
So settle in, pour a cup of amazing coffee. He's a coffee snob, by the way. Crank that ghetto blaster and enjoy the 150,000 ranked podcast in the land.
Fake laugh, hiding real pain.
I think that's an exaggeration. It's the Brenton On Tour Podcast.
Any question?
Here's BD.
And we're back. Brand new season of the Brenton On Tour podcast has begun. I am still on tour, technically, just finished up a run that is still kind of going from that started in Vegas. It kind of has ended in this Las Vegas area. And all points in between, my guest today had joined me for a good portion of that through Europe. And I feel like I'm still on that tour because I haven't really been home for more than a couple of days and haven't had a chance to really do any recording, but finally was able to sit down, grab a little bit of time and start the new season. So the Brenton On Tour podcast is back. We're going to cover all the things that we've been covering, of course, coffee, music, travel, life. We're going to cover the Making It series. We're going to cover the Sober series. I'm going to get into a whole bunch of different things, but I had an opportunity this summer to tour with one of my favorite Canadian bands, and it was a super bonus to have them open this tour that I've been on all year. Wonderful people that had in my opinion, a very successful European run, and it's going to keep going for them. They got tons of tour dates coming up, but Ryan from Mother and Guldemond is with me today and has his own solo project on the way as well, or actually has come out, which is pretty awesome. And we're going to kind of dive into all of it, but mostly I just want to see what he's been up to and what he's been doing since I left him last. And I feel quite lonely out here without you guys, and just wanted to check in and see how you're doing, buddy.
Yo, how's it going?
I'm doing okay. How's your world, man?
Great. Yeah, life is good. Thanks for having me.
Now, you guys have been pretty busy since I sort of left you a bit. You played a few festivals and a few things. What's been going on?
Yeah, a couple of one-offs in Canada. Those are great. And just preparing for this next 3 months of touring that begins on Tuesday or next week. And I've been putting the pieces together to release my solo project, building a new set. So all good stuff, all music related activity. So I feel quite blessed that my life is so consumed with this thing that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure watching you guys every single night live in that setting with the festivals that were in the state that we were doing. You guys are like the perfect festival stadium band. It was great. You had people cheering along. You're great in clubs. I mean, how was that experience for you guys?
I mean,
this level, because it was nuts.
Yeah, it was amazing on every level. But I think the thing that was most beneficial for us for touring in stadiums with Imagine Dragons, sprinkled with those European festivals, was we were kind of forced to graduate as a live act. Much of that setting was beyond the scale that we were used to. And so we kind of had to rise to the occasion, and every show, turn up our output by 2 or 3%. So by the end of the tour, it was like, I think we're a better band by 40%.
You've played a lot of festivals, obviously, before in Canada and throughout, but are you basically saying the amount of stadiums in a row, or the amount of the big shows that you guys did in a row kind of played an effect on that?
Any stadium. We've never played stadiums. Our hard ticket show in North America is anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000 people. And so to be in a venue playing to 60,000 people, that's just a different language. It's a different planet. And so, we had to acclimate, graduate to that new world.
You walk on stage for the first time. Now, you played festivals, so you're used to a ton of people, but you walk on that stadium stage for the first time. You hit that first note on the first show. You walk off stage. What's the first thing out of your brain when you walk off stage for the first time?
We need to do more.
More of?
Performance, connection, energetic, conveyance, gesticulation, better speaking. We just need to do more. We need to do better in this context. That was my thought when we walked off stage in Riga, Latvia. That was the first show.
In the rain.
Yeah, my other thought was it's really hard to put it on an animated performance when the stage is so slick. You kind of have to stay quite sedentary, which does not serve playing a big show. So that was an interesting first gig.
I remember saying to Slippery, your front of house guy, I'm like, did these guys ever have a bad show? Because right from the beginning to the end, you guys were, as far as I was concerned, dialed in. But at what point were you like, I think we got this. I think we got this on this show with this stadium. We got this crowd. We got them in our hand. Was there a point, or is it still going?
I mean, I think you never feel like you give the perfect show, but you definitely have shows that feel a little more transcendental, like there's an energy beyond the energy that you're trying to control that comes into play, that takes care of everybody. It's something of a divine experience when those shows happen, but they're very rare. And I would say the one show on that tour was in Santiago, Spain, where it's just we walked out and just what the crowd was giving and what we were giving back harmonized so well. Yeah, and it just felt like we were taking care of both parties. Very special show for us.
Flip side to that question, you got to go back to clubs. You got to go back to maybe opening slots at arenas.
Hey, 1 second. I gotta shut my window here. There's a dump truck out there.
Hey, welcome to live podcasts, everybody. It happens all the time. I got planes flying out here next to my window in Vegas. So hey, listen, this is what we do.
Welcome to Railtown, Vancouver. It's cacophonous down here.
So you go from the stadiums. There's this amazing emotional thing. You've got crowds. You've got, Spain. You've got the crowd in your hand. And then you got to go to a club. And how do you replicate that internally to say, okay, this is the same thing, but it's just smaller?
Yeah, I think anything over one person is a lot of people in a way, in a manner of thinking. So I think you just apply a lot of the same techniques of trying to connect. I lost you. I don't see you.
That's because I've given you the full screen, buddy.
Okay, I need to see you, baby. Don't leave me.
That's okay. That's we are. This is for YouTube and everything as well. So it's going to be,
Oh, I see. What they see. What I see is what they see. Okay.
Yeah, what you see is what they see.
Okay, do your thing. Do your thing.
Technology that we have.
Welcome to live podcasting, everyone.
I know. Isn't that funny?
I think
we're all still figuring it out.
You got to live on the edge a little bit.
But do you take that stadium experience and put a stadium show on inside the club?
To an extent, I think you can risk overdoing it. You want to play to the space that you're in. I think that's the respectable thing to do. Because if you're toppling people with a stadium energy in a 2,000 person club, then maybe they're feeling like they're craving a little more intimacy from you. That can happen. I think when we got back from these stadium shows, we played these smaller festivals in Canada, and we ran at that crowd like a juggernaut coming off of that stadium energy. And I talked to a friend who was at the show. He's like, that was a lot. I was like, was that too much? He said, maybe, for the venue you were in. I said, okay, good to know.
I had to dial it back.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, especially because you just want to keep that energy. It's so infectious, and that crowd that is giving you back things. And Canadian crowds are amazing, but they're a little bit more like chilled, or, they're not losing their mind like in Europe all the time. I don't find, anyways.
Yeah, the temperament varies for sure from region to region. It's interesting.
So the journey to get you to that stage has been going for a while. Give us a little bit of history on the beginning of Mother, into where we are right now, because you guys have had amazing streaming numbers. This new record is killing. Like, you're just doing some great stuff, but it seems like a journey to get here, to break it overnight and just do amazing stuff. So give us a little history there.
Yeah, it's like overnight success after 17 years.
Yeah.
So I started the band, it will be 18 years ago, in 2023, with my sister, Molly, in Vancouver. We were in our early 20s, and I was going to jazz school and she was going to art school. And we had never performed music together, but I started writing these songs, and by virtue of her unique speaking voice, I had this sense that she would make a great backup singer. And so I proposed this strange idea to her, and she was very reticent, but agreed to trial this proposition at an open mic. And we went and played this thing, and it was like time stood still. And so we both quit school and poured everything into this project. And within a year, we had stirred up a good little buzz in Vancouver, caught the interest of Last Gang Records, which was a boutique indie label out of Toronto. And that was exciting for us because Metric was on that label at that time, and that was one of our favorite bands. So we signed to them, did 4 albums with them, moved to Universal, did 3 albums with them, moved to Warner, are on Warner now. And all the while, we've been grinding, incrementally ascending. Like if you saw it on a graph, it would be this very subtle ascension over the past, 15 years of being signed and touring. And it wasn't until 2020 when we caught like our big break, and that was an abstract, inexplicable situation where Tik Tok joined a pandemic and created a firestorm of energy around Mother, its early catalog, and millions of kids around the world. And so that has since breathed new life into our career, transformed our touring business, and just revitalized the band. It's like, it feels like we're a new band, not just vicariously, but even just personally. I feel like I'm just getting started now.
Who was the person that said to you guys, hey, something's happening here?
It was our management.
On Monday, Monday it's like regular day. Tuesday, Darren's going, the internet just blew up.
It wasn't quite that stark. It was like, we have more streams than we should, or there's more YouTube hits than there should be. And I was like, why? I don't know. It's like, we're not putting anything new out right now. We're off cycle. This doesn't make sense. And then it was like, you know what? We discovered where this is coming from, this app called Tik Tok. I was like, weird. And I was urged to like start an account and go onto the app and just take a look around. I was like, okay, sure. And I went in there and it was just like, holy smokes. There's like, 80,000 videos of kids in their bedrooms, like jamming out to songs we put out 13 years ago.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that the kids have taken that thing for themselves. There's not really a algorithm control at this point. So everyone's blowing up on this thing.
Yeah.
It's been incredible.
It's lawless.
Do you support that? Obviously, there's this debate between a lot of artists about whether to use TikTok to help get them there. And a colleague of ours, an artist, had said to me, a lot of kids don't want to use it. They want to stay genuine and they want to break by themselves. And somebody had told them, you don't have a choice. Someone's going to take your music and run with it. So you can choose to own it and make it your own, like make it your own thing, and own those fans and keep making content for them and blowing it up. And it's kind of undeniably, you're going to have to use it. It's almost become a new record label. How do you feel about that?
I'm not much for refuting reality and evolution. It seems like just very akin to the advent of streaming. There is all this resistance, and then now it's the norm. It's just the way life works. It's the way the world works. It evolves. Breakthroughs and distribution technology comes into the fray and takes over, and people acclimate, and that's that. The whole question about like, if I participate, my authenticity is at risk. I don't understand. Just be authentic wherever you are. Be authentic on TikTok. Be authentic over there and everywhere. That's on you to maintain your truth in this business. And I don't think you can blame that on an app. So that's kind of my stance. I struggle with TikTok. I do. I find it exhausting and kind of daunting and confusing, and I don't know exactly what to do. And you always feel like
that's my question. But struggle to make stuff or make content on TikTok?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's a big demand. It takes a lot of time. You always feel like you're not doing enough there because it is such a powerful app. Like, it does have the ability to expose you to so many people, and it's an odds game. So the more TikToks you make, the more chances you have of getting pushed out to more people, and that's a good thing. That's what we want. We want exposure. So you just have to balance your mental health and your participation and your work ethic. But I do think the same principles applies to this as it did MySpace, as it did streaming, as it did to any of these technological advents that reshape the music industry.
Getting the real story from news in 2022 is well, let's be honest. News in 2022 is, quite frankly, kind of That's why, in conjunction with the Dean Blundell Podcast Network, we've developed the Linz Report, a snack-sized rundown of the top stories you saw this week or heard about on deanblundell.com. The Linz Report anchors and contributors will bring you those stories in 20 minutes or less, chock full of details, receipts, and a healthy dose of snark. This isn't your grandparents' newscast. Check out the Linz Report, available on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
You have to make it part of your day now?
These days, I'm willfully neglecting TikTok because I'm just kind of focusing on other things. And it's like, okay, right now there's a lull, but I know that when we go on tour, it'll pick up. I'll have more material to work with. I'll be more focused in the womb of the band on the road, and TikTok will pick back up.
It's interesting because I think about a cycle of a band and a record, and we as fans, you get the album, you see the band maybe twice on tour. They would come through your city twice on a cycle, and then it would be 2 years before you see them again. Now it's every month people want content. Mm-hmm. And I always go, what is the better approach? Leave them wanting more and then coming back to you in a year when that new record comes out? Or do you have to stay on it? And for you as an artist that has been on a 15 or 17 year journey and still trying to break around the world, I'm just curious if that drives you crazy. Like if the formula feels like it's ever changing and you're just playing catch up all the time, or do you guys have like a method that you like to stick to? Because you got a lot of records, and you were on stage saying, "This is our 9th album," and I'm like, that's a long time. That's a lot of records.
I think you have to serve the appetite for your product. It's like, is there an appetite? If so, then serve it. If there isn't, then maybe it's time to go work on your empire in private and then come back and present and see if that stirs up a bigger appetite. Right now for Mother, there's a big appetite. We caught this lucky break 2 years ago. We met this new energy with a lot of gratitude, a lot of humility, and a lot of hard work. And that has, I think, set the course for some appetite over the next number of years.
Yeah.
And so we are all willing to play the content game over this next chapter of life, because that is the natural order of things. We feel like that's in sync with the universe. But if there wasn't this appetite, then I think it would be lopsided if we were thrusting content into the world. It's like, no, take a break. Go reassess what it is you're offering. And maybe you're not offering enough or the right thing, and it's time to, redefine your project and then try again. We've done that 9 times. Every album's been different.
Yeah.
And has been met with different degrees of appetite. And some of them was a letdown. It's like, didn't quite do what we wanted it to do. Time to go back, think about how we want to present this band next time.
Do you write around what you just went through? As far as what works live, stadiums, you've got that intimacy, which is amazing. But then you also saw what worked in this grand scale. So do you go back and go, we need more songs like this because they worked really well, but we also need more songs like this because some people like to see us in this little club? That must be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, of course you want to have all of those conversations with yourself as you're trying to refine your vision. But I always wind up back at the place of, you know what, this is getting too strategic. Just go to the piano, go to the guitar, go to the canvas and shut the brain off, open the heart up, and write music that's inspired, that's true to your soul. And then let the chips fall where they may. If it's a stadium song, great. If it's an acoustic campfire thing, great. So long as it is true.
Which leads me to this. Brand new, Goldmouth. How did this come together?
I've been thinking about doing a solo project for, I think, ever, probably for the last 20 years. But with no real urgency around the concept. But just like, I would like to do that sometime in life, to write music and serve a project that was kind of melancholic and slower and more individualistic. And it just so happens that now is the time to unveil that. I began working on this in 2018 and took about 2 years to find the vision, find the essence, write the songs, produce the songs, take the photos, blah, blah, blah. And was ready to release it in 2020. But then the world changed, Mother blew up and shelved Goldmouth. And now in this little window of downtime, it's not even a window of downtime, but it just felt like we couldn't wait any longer. It was just going to collect too much dust. So let's just put it out in a very unsolicitous manner. Like, here's this music, you're welcome to take part. But then really just get back to work with the band and let that percolate on the side.
Are you going to tour it? Or is this sort of, this is my solo thing, and I'll get to it eventually from touring because Mother's so busy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to die with it. So yes, I'm going to tour it. Like, this project, I will take this project to the grave. And I'm excited to see what Goldmouth sounds like, looks like in 20 years, in 10 years, in 30 years. it's that kind of a project. Am I in a hurry to tour it in like a fiscally album cycle way? Like on this record, I'm not even there. I don't think like that with regards to this project, which is kind of like the gift I'm giving to myself with this project after being in something more machine oriented with Mother, where it's like you gotta hit these schedule marks and tour and reach these markets and blah blah blah. I don't want this to be like that.
One thing I noticed on this trip with you guys, you in particular, our friend Sean Verow had mentioned one time the genius of man.
Oh boy.
Well, just, artists are on their own, unique in their own way, and they all have their own quirks, or they write a certain way. But I do notice a very interesting songwriting style with you and the band and all the rest. Where do you pull your influences from? And I mean that in a good way. It's not first chorus verse per se. There's tons of stuff that are in those headphones for me. And you've got a great band and people supporting you. And I'm sure Guldemond is going to be loaded with all this kind of stuff. But where do you pull your songwriting style from?
I think it probably started with the Beatles and how unconventional and innovative they were with their craft. And then in my teenage years, I got into metal, and so long songs that veered off and took chances in their arrangements. And then I went to jazz school, and then I kind of started to acquire the language, the harmonic language that was more extensive beyond the diatonic pop sounds. And by that I mean like modulating with diminished chords, with augmented chords, with seventh chords, chromaticisms, both in the harmony and the melody. And so that just gave me a bit more vocabulary to work with my writing. And I think the music that has penetrated my heart the most is like quirky, eccentric, indie pop rock situations like the Pixies, Talking Heads, Violent Femmes, bands that have a quirk factor and a male lead that isn't overtly masculine. That has always appealed to me. So there's sort of like this androgyny. And then when I got a chance to incorporate female harmonies, I was able to really amplify that vision and create a creature coming off of the vocal side of things that felt kind of alien, androgynous.
That's great.
Which I really care for. Yeah.
I love how you just said it like that, because I was feeling like that, like inside from that record. And I think I texted you when I was on the plane. I'm like, I'm really diving into this song right now. And it's got so many layers. It's amazing. And it's going back into the Canadian lore. I was a big I Mother Earth fan, still am, that have loaded records with just tons of sonic journeys on them. And I find that with your records, they're like that. So for me,
thank you.
Wonderful.
That's always nice to hear. And I think we're at a place right now where we want to push it harder. We feel like we've been granted this permission that you always realize you never needed. But, being that the strangest side of the band is what has blown the band up, that has reminded us like, okay, we're allowed to do whatever we want. In fact, we're much better off in really tapping into our strange factor and taking a lot of songwriting risks and piling the harmonies up and using words that are challenging and that are condensed. Like how many times I've heard from like label people like turn the harmonies down or less harmonies, or it's a bit too verbose, that kind of stuff. It's too quirky, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like all of that stuff is what's making the band successful. So it's pretty ironic, but liberating. Pardon me?
Someone must have told Bowie that.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, nice try.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few more for you. So, all music all the time, producing all the time. You're in a beautiful part of the world like me in British Columbia. What are you doing outside of music to kind of occupy your brain and keep your mental health going, feeling good inside, all the rest of it?
Well, I mean, it's all creative. I take a lot of therapy from just being creative in these other mediums that are more in alignment with Goldmouth, that being photography and videography and poetry and just creating that world, that essence of deep, soulful creativity that's not attached to anything overtly commercial. Like I could go out today for an hour with the camera and just walk around my neighborhood in this, in this contemplative autumn equinox sunlight, and it would do the job of like a spiritual retreat where you have coffee enemas and drink green juice for, right, 9 days. So that's what I do to tend to my soul, is take photos and videos and write with no other reason other than to enjoy that stuff. It's not to put it out and to be successful, it's to enjoy it.
People with a hamster that's running all the time, like yourself, creative people, do you find you embrace it? Do you find it can drive you a little bit crazy?
Well, I know how to turn it off, and that is to commune with the beauty outside of me, to go look for a photo, to open yourself up to the energy of a song. That turns the brain off. I mean, the quote is, thinking is the death of creativity, and I believe that. It's a feeling business. And so that's how I turn my hamster wheel off, is by living a more artful life and making sure every day has a creative chapter in it.
I always wonder about that because I have a hamster in my own way that's running. I started this show just to try to wrangle that hamster in, and try to be creative, have conversations with people and get their take on life and the creative process and all the rest. And I have a hard time making that hamster stop running, to my detriment at some point, because I definitely want to just keep banging out content, and something will come to me like, oh, I want to do this interview, or do that interview. And so kudos to you to find that way. It's difficult, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways. A lot of it's physical too, like your nervous system, knowing how to connect to your nervous system, knowing how to calm your nervous system through breathing or some kind of, spiritual practice. Not that you need to believe in anything, but to meditate and connect to an energy or a consciousness, that kind of thing. I mean, I think that if people just had a more mindful practice that they were committed to daily, they would experience probably a great transformation with their nervous system and then their ability to calm the mind. A lot of it's just like brass tacks, physiology, neurological stuff.
Is there a song or is there music that does that for you?
There's one song, I think I've cited this song before. It's called Spiegel im Spiegel. It's such a angular name. It's kind of an ugly name, but it's a song by Arvo Part, and it's a piano and violin piece. It's quite long. It's 7 or 8 minutes, and it's it's like a balm for the soul. BALM. I would suggest to anybody who feels like their nervous system is jacked up, just to lay down, put a little towel over your eyes so it's nice and dark, turn that song on, and let yourself rest and slow down.
Knowing the effect that has on you, are you going to try to create something like that for someone else?
Again, it's like don't try. Just show up at the piano or wherever and let the music come through. And I trust that those songs will come through. I trust that I will make a plethora of Spiegel and Spiegels over the next 40 years of writing music.
There's some wonderful pieces on the last record, and I'm stoked to see what's coming on the solo record. Knowing what I know now and what I've seen now, I'm going to be looking for all this kind of sonic stuff.
Cool. Great. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I poured a lot into it. I produced and engineered and mixed it all myself over the course of a couple of years, up until the 11th hour when I kind of felt like I needed a bit of help. And so I employed Howard Redefine, who's a longtime collaborator and friend of the band, who produced the last record and Oh My Heart and Touch Up. And he came in, and it was a beautiful reunion. We took all this stuff that I had created to Afterlife Studios, which used to be Mushroom, where Mother recorded those first two albums, so it had this kind of voodoo, and we added to it. And then we took it to the Warehouse Studios in Gastown, Bryan Adams Studios, and kind of ran all these sounds that I kind of created within the cold computer through this analog gear and through the tape machine. And yeah, he really helped me get to the next level in the final stages of things.
I'm excited. When's it coming out?
It's coming out tomorrow. Can I say tomorrow on this podcast? Does that make sense to the listeners?
Well, we're going to, I guess this will be out by then, because I'm going to put this out next week. So
yeah, one song is out, and the rest of the album comes out tomorrow. But yeah, it's out.
So the album comes out the 23rd of September.
Yes, correct.
It was last week, but tomorrow.
Yes, I mean time, right? It's a myth. It's a lie.
That's right.
Linear time.
So congratulations on the release tomorrow and last week.
Well, thank you. I get double the congrats. That's great.
It's awesome. Before I let you go, you got a big tour coming up. You got your team, and is ready to go. How do you get ready mentally? What do you prepare physically? And what's the process to get that machine out there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a lot of physical preparation involved. I'm rehabbing a back injury, so that's been quite consuming. I'm not drinking, I'm not ingesting any toxins, so just kind of getting clear and clean, and visualizing, those days on the road, visualizing waking up on a bus with 12 other people where everyone's trying to make their coffee, and just premeditating on entering that space calm and graceful, rehearsing how I might speak to the crowd, just going through the visual motions so I feel more prepared. I find visualization a lot more effective than other forms of preparation.
But that's how we all started. We all started in our room pretending we were on a stage. I mean, at least I did, with a tennis racket, pretending I was on stage playing to thousands of people.
Yeah.
And one of those venues that I did that for and envisioned it was Wallburn in Berlin, where we played outside. Mm-hmm. So happy to share that moment with you guys.
Likewise.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
It was.
Well, all the best out there to the team, the band, everybody. You've absolutely floored me with how you guys, to your point, played that first show and then just took that crowd and made it your own the rest of the tour. And I know that this tour loved having you guys on there. And I personally absolutely won't forget that experience. It was amazing. So all the best to you guys out there.
Nor will we, Brent. I just want to say thank you for everything. You went above and beyond on that tour to treat us so kindly and support us. So thank you. And I told the band I was doing this podcast, and they really wanted me to give their love.
What an experience that was to be on tour with them.
Reiterate the
and
gratitude.
I wish them all the best. This is going to be a hell of a tour for them.
Well, love to you all.
There's nothing more exciting
all
than a
wonderful
band
people
that
just had the best time.
You
So
can just see it happening on the rise. You just see
Buy
them
my
just
solo record.
rising in front of and just
Stream
taking
it.
these
tomorrow, last week.
these fans and
Do that.
making them their own. And
get it.
this is such a
Congratulations
perfect
to
time for them to go
Thank
back
you.
on tour.
GLDMTH.com.
A little
They're on
break from
tour.
all these shows, and
Going to be
now they're about to go out.
Make sure you
and
get out there
do
and
it.
check
So
out a show. It's going to be.
I'm very, very excited for them.
experience, I'm sure.
Mothermothersite.com. Go
So,
check them out.
all the best to you out
This
there,
has
buddy.
been the
Thanks,
Brenton
Brent.
On Tour
All the best to you.
podcast.
Have a good day.
Check it out at BrentonOnTour.com
Thanks,
for all past
Bye.
episodes, as you guys are aware. I got to thank my friends at Partake Brewing, non-alcoholic beer. Those guys have been amazing and big supporters of what I do, and have been getting me on tour, been sending me stuff on tour to just maintain a sober life on tour, which I've been trying to do. And they've been a big supporter of me, and I appreciate them. So stick around, come around. Next couple of weeks, I got a bunch of different guests coming up. I got Danik from Emerson Drive. I'm going to have my friend Tim Wendable back from Tim Wendable Coffee, which will make Allie happy from Mother. He loves a big coffee fan like me. And a bunch of other guests that are on the way as well to talk all the things. Sobriety, why not? Trying to make it. Coffee and travel and life, and trying to get some amazing people. So that is the Brenton On Tour podcast for another week. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.